Very good morning to you, and thanks for joining us on The Breakfast. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. Today is Thursday, the 20th day of February 2025, which means we have very few days to the end of this month, and we thank God that we are here together. On the program today, Senate summons NSA over U.S. aid terror funding allegations. Remember what has been said in the U.S. about what U.S. aid has been doing in Nigeria and other African countries. In fact, in other countries of the world, that not only are they humanitarian or aid providers, they are also funders of terrorism in the world, including Nigeria. So we'll discuss that today. We also have a story that House of Representatives is to investigate Osun State security crisis that has led to the death of about 6 people or so, and the wounding of so many more. We'll also discuss that this morning. Of course, we will look at some top trending issues, issues that caught our fancy in the last 24 hours, and then we'll go to the press to see what is new on the newspapers. We'll go to about 4 newspapers to see the headlines and what made it to the front pages of those newspapers. That's how it's going to be on the show this morning. But first, to just begin on a very sound footing, let's take a short break and look at the quote for the day. Our quote this morning is from Scott Belsky, and it says, "It's not about ideas, it's about making ideas happen." It's not about ideas, it's about making ideas happen. And that is a challenge for a lot of people. You have the idea. The problem is not having the idea. It's the push to make that idea happen that is the problem. So many people entered this year, for instance, with so many business ideas, so many other ideas to make things better for them and the people around them. But making these ideas come to life is always a challenge for everybody. So everybody needs motivation to do this. Motivation from within and motivations from without, where friends and family can give you that motivation, where the books that are relevant that you can read can give you that motivation, where everything that you look at can give you that motivation. Sometimes it's suffering that gives you motivation for everything in life that you face. Use it as a motivation and make your ideas come to life. There are people whose ideas are so good that if they would come to life right now, things will drastically change for everybody and especially for themselves. But that push is not there. So there is need for collaboration in most cases. Some people were born to be generators for ideas, but they may not have the motivation to move on. Some people have this motivation, but they don't have the ideas. It's a gift sometimes. So when you find the person with that motivation and you have the idea and you come together and collaborate, great things can be done. So don't be afraid. A lot of times in Nigeria, we fear collaboration. You think that if I bring my idea, this person will steal it. And well, it does happen in a lot of cases. But you can't, because of that fear, die with an idea that could have revolutionized the world. So look for that person with the kind of energy you need. That is, if you have the idea and you do not have the motivation to go on. Motivation doesn't always have to be money. For some people who have these ideas that just think, okay, let me wait till when I have the money, I'm going to put this idea to reality. It doesn't always happen that way. Look for the person with that energy, share your idea with the person, make sure that you're on the same page, and then bring these ideas to life. When an idea dies, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't grow back like a seed. But when you put that energy into an idea and to make it happen, then it really will happen. You have the idea to write a book, but you don't know how to go about it. Yeah, you can even contract someone to write that book for you, and you give that idea to the person and be sure that you supervise. The book comes out and you are credited as the author. Things like that happen. There are ghostwriters everywhere. There are people who do things and they don't necessarily need their names to come up. You have a drama idea or a movie idea. There are people who are script writers that can write it for you. So when you have an idea, it's not all the time that it has to take your own effort to make it come to fruition. Your own effort is to find the person, the right person that can do that thing for you. You want to establish a school, there are people who you can consult and they'll tell you what to do and how to go about it and all that. So ideas should not remain in your head. Ideas should be translated into actions. Sometimes you have an idea for a business and you try it and you fail. If you fail, it doesn't mean that you as a person have failed. You have learned a very valuable lesson, and then when you move on to the next idea, you will apply these lessons, and one day you will hit it. If you listen to the stories of great men of today, you know that a lot of them failed so many times, but at the end of the day, they made it. Wouldn't you want to be that person who made it for the generation yet unborn to come and enjoy? I would like to be that, so wouldn't you? Well, we thank Scott Belsky for that quote for today. We do hope that you have decided now to put your ideas to reality. We'll move straight to the top trending issues this morning. The first one is that the Benue Assembly suspends 13 lawmakers over Chief Judge issue. The Benue State House of Assembly has suspended 13 lawmakers who distanced themselves from the removal of the state's Chief Judge, Justice Maurice Ikpambase. The lawmakers had initially supported his removal, but later denounced their stance, calling the process unconstitutional. Following their public retraction, the Assembly imposed a 3-month suspension, citing their actions as dishonorable and disruptive to the House. Speaker Hyacinth Dajo explained that lawmakers' conduct was seen as an attempt to create acrimony within the Assembly. The suspension followed a vote where 23 out of 31 members supported the Chief Judge's removal. Majority Leader Sata Teser criticized the lawmakers' retraction as deceptive and contrary to the Assembly's rules, leading to the decision to suspend them. There's so many things to this story. Well, if you decide a thing as a body and another person goes out, okay, so many people will see that as betrayal and all that. But when we're talking of separation of power, how much powers do other arms of government really have when some other arms can just dictate what happens? You know, the House of Assembly is the legislative arm of that government, of that state. And the governor is the executive arm of that state. And we have the judicial arm of that state being removed by the legislative arm. I still do not understand how these things work. Are there no separation of powers? What did the judge do that the Judicial Council or any other body that is responsible for their discipline could not discipline, that the House of Assembly had to remove that person? If these other people have said, okay, we are no longer interested in that because after much reflection we've seen that it's unconstitutional, and they are now removed for 3 months. Things like this have been happening. You go to the Senate, someone who will complain that, okay, I don't understand how the budget is done. The way I've seen some figures, they don't add up and all that. And he's suspended for 4 months. And you raise up your voice, a decanting voice, a voice that is not necessarily the popular one, and you get suspended, you get punished for having a personal opinion about what is happening, instead of an investigation to be done, instead of the issue you raised to be looked at critically. They just silence you, and you'll have to come back and apologize that even though what I did was correct, I shouldn't have spoken out. And it happens all the time, and I don't know what it is. These lawmakers also were arguing that even if they did something that wrong, it would not warrant, it shouldn't have warranted people or the other lawmakers giving them more than 2 weeks suspension, because the standing rules of the House dictate that they can only be suspended for 2 weeks. Now they've been suspended for 2 months. Let's see how that plays out. What really did the Chief Justice do? It's not as clear as maybe we have been told, but in the coming days we are going to find out what really happened. And what will the Judicial Council say about this? What will the judiciary generally in Nigeria say about this? Because if it continues to happen this way, where somebody will just get up, maybe a governor just gets up and sacks the Chief Justice, or the House of Assembly gets up and sacks the Chief Justice, and the Judicial Council or whoever else, whichever body is responsible, just keeps quiet. I don't see where the separation of powers is anymore, where one arm can go and meddle into the affairs of the other arm and have someone sacked. Can the judiciary sack a House of Assembly member when a case was not brought to the court for, I don't know, I don't understand that. But we hope that they will resolve it and the people of Benue will be better for it. Now, there is a call to abolish HND bachelor degree dichotomy in Nigeria. This is done by the Association of Private Polytechnics in Nigeria. They have urged President Bola Tinubu to sponsor a bill to abolish the existing dichotomy between holders of the higher national diploma, HND, and bachelor's degree. The call was made by Dr. Benjamin Achiata, president of the association, during an address to the media in Abuja on Wednesday. He emphasized that the dichotomy creates inequality, as bachelor's degree holders are often given preferential treatment in government job recruitment over their HND counterparts. Although the National Council on Establishment officially removed the dichotomy, Achiata pointed out that the lack of proper legal backing has led to poor implementation. He noted that a bill to support this change was passed during the 9th Senate, but was not signed into law by the previous president. According to Achiata, the 10th National Assembly must revisit or introduce a new bill for President Tinubu's assent to ensure the legal removal of this disparity. The issue of the HND bachelor degree divide is contributing to a significant decline in applications to polytechnics, as reported by the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board. Achiata expressed concern that many Nigerian students are now traveling to neighboring countries like Benin, Togo, and Ghana for education, resulting in a brain drain that threatens the country's educational and professional development. Okay, it's a good call that the dichotomy should go, but I don't even think any pronouncement or any bill being passed will solve the problem. It's a mentality problem that Nigerians have. Nigerian thinks about papers, that's all. They don't think about the competence of that person. They don't think about the practical knowledge a person has. They just think about papers, and that's all. If you check Lagos, for instance, how many people are gainfully employed because of the course they read? How many? Just check anyway. Maybe you go to the bank and you see everybody read accountancy or something related to that, maybe. But you go to other places, even some people who are doing businesses, you know, they are not doing businesses that are related to their courses. Some of them did biochemistry, and then they are running a beauty salon. Some of them, you know, things like that. How many graduates are really working in areas that they studied? Because we just want graduates. We just want a certificate and all that. We don't think about competence in Nigeria. So even if you say in government establishments, we are going to be placing you on the same cadre, we're going to place you on the same grade level, whether you are you have a bachelor's degree or you have HND. What about the private employers? Are they also thinking about competence? They are just looking at your certificate and they see that it's bachelor's, or you have a degree, and the person that is coming from a polytechnic that knows more than the person who even has that degree will be sidelined because the other person has a degree. You don't think about brains. In Nigeria, a lot of people don't think about brains, they think about papers. When you go outside, the kind of audition or interview they give you will tell them how much you know, not how many papers you have. It's how much you know and how much you can get things done. And I think that is what we should imbibe here. If you have the ability to do a particular thing that places you on a particular grade, why not let that person be in that grade? There are people who have degrees and cannot make a full sentence in English. But they have degrees, and they will be employed because they have degrees. And the person who went to a polytechnic with the practical knowledge and everything will be sidelined because he has no degree. You just want your workforce to be a workforce that has degrees. Everybody is a big man. And then a mechanical engineering student or graduate, or a mechanical engineer, let me call him that way, cannot repair his car. He doesn't even know how to change battery, is it oil or whatever it is, or change battery even. Or whenever a problem happens, he doesn't know what to do. He will take it to a roadside mechanic, and he is a mechanical engineer. And you're not considering what is upstairs. So people go to school, they just want to get certificates. They don't go to school to learn. A lot of people go to school to just get the certificate. They have a passion for something else, but because they know that that knowledge that they have in something else may not take them anywhere when they don't have the papers, they just go to school to just read whatever they want to read and then get the certificate. Some of them don't go to school so long as they can do presentations with 2,000 under the paper. They can do assignments with 5,000 under the paper. They can do tests with some money under the paper. Then they will pass their examinations and all that, have that degree to show, to flaunt around, and nothing upstairs. Well, so when this dichotomy is removed officially, we will still have Nigerians to contend with, Nigerians that need to understand that practical knowledge is better than anything else. So if you have a degree and you have the knowledge, fine. Let's employ you. If you have HND and you have the knowledge that we require, let's employ you. Let's pay you what we're supposed to pay you at that grade that you have reached of your knowledge, not your papers. So if we can do that in Nigeria, we wouldn't need to be talking about dichotomy in degree and HND and all that. Our people just think about big names, and that is the end, and which is a very, very bad thing. But we need first steps first. And this first step is to make it official. Let's know that, okay, if you have HND, you're as big as the person with a degree, and then we'll move from there. Polytechnics are supposed to bring out a workforce for this country, so much so that you don't need to go the whole 4 years. 2 years, you have the competence to do something, and you come out as a proud person. And then 4 years, that means you wanted to go even higher, and then you have that competence even more than when you had it and graduated as an ND student and all that. But no respect, so everybody wants to go to the university, whether you are cut out for university or not, and it's a very, very bad thing. So let's start that reorientation in the minds of people, and then let's have that first step from the government. That bill will be important, and then the orientation will follow. Or the orientation first, and then you go to the bill if we will still need it after the orientation. Okay, Mele Kyari, the group CEO of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPCL, has announced that legal and security measures are being taken against individuals spreading false information about the company. This comes after a TikTok video claimed that petrol from NNPC stations is of poor quality compared to MRS Oil's petrol, which allegedly lasts longer and is more affordable. The video, which showed a comparison between two small Tiger generators using petrol from MRS Oil and NNPC, sparked widespread attention. It suggested that Dangote refined petrol sold by MRS Oil outperforms NNPC's in terms of both price and efficiency. Now, Kyari dismissed these claims as an unfortunate drama and bad marketing practice. He emphasized that NNPC's petrol meets all regulatory quality standards and assured the public that there is no official report confirming the presence of substandard fuel at NNPC stations. Okay, I would think that if NNPC knows that the information about their fuel is false, they should give us a practical way of testing the veracity of their claim. Tell us how this is done. Maybe you also go and put your own fuel in the two generators and give us. But I saw that video, I watched that video, and the person said, okay, this is what I did, and this is what the outcome was. And he also said, among other things, that the MRS fuel is cheaper. Is that also a lie? Is NNPCL selling less than the MRS filling stations, or is NNPCL selling the same price as MRS as was claimed in that video? There are a lot of things that came to light in that video. Are you selling higher? And when I went to the comment section of that video when it was posted, 90% or above were saying, well, this is true. These are things that, this is something that I've experienced as well. If I buy fuel here, it lasts me longer when I'm traveling to this or that. Maybe bus owners are saying, okay, if I fill my tank, this is how much it takes me if it is from MRS, and this is how much it takes me if it is from NNPCL and all that. So all these things are coming up. Maybe there is a problem within that the NNPCL needs to look at. And it's not always enough for someone to do a review of your product and the next thing is litigation and all that. That's what happened with the tomato lady, if you remember, the tomato lady, someone who reviewed the product and said, okay, this product, as I used it, when I used it, this is what happened. It was too sugary or something that she said. And the next thing is that she was arrested, she was facing prosecution and all that. And I'm not sure she was such a person who could have fought a company as big as Erisco. And till date, we don't know how that case has ended. But the woman was put to shame, as it were, because she reviewed the product. Instead of the company making sure that, okay, we say, okay, we are sorry if that is how that happened. It was not intended, because our products are supposed to be up to standard, and we'll make some findings and find out how or why that particular one that you bought turned out to be what it was. But it didn't do that. They just went ahead and arrested the woman and started to prosecute the woman. And that's what is happening to NNPCL right now. So if people have said that your fuel is costlier, prove to us that it is cheaper or at the same price with the other filling stations. If they have said it doesn't last as long as the other fuel, prove to us that it's the same quality, but that person didn't do well, or there's a better way to test it than what that person crudely did. So test it for us, show us how to do it as individuals, so that we will know that your quality is of the same with that of Dangote and all that. And NNPCL also claimed that their fuel comes from Dangote as well. So how can the one that is sold in one filling station be different from the one that is sold in the other one when they're all from the same source? But you told us that you have your own refinery, and we understand that fuel is still being imported from other countries by NNPCL. You'll have to prove us wrong in that as well. Tell us a lot of things that we need to know. But if the test that man did was wrong, tell us the right way to do the test in our individual homes or as a collective body. Maybe the NURTW will have to do this test and find out what is best for them if they need to. But the first thing is not to arrest somebody or threaten somebody if they review your product and think that it's not the standard they would have wanted. So prove us wrong, first of all, before you begin to arrest everybody. If you go to that video on X and you find all the people who are commenting, like I said, 90% of these people were saying this is true. So if you have to arrest, maybe you will arrest everybody, 90% of the people who are there. You will get overwhelmed. So just do your findings and see whether there is a particular station that he bought from that is not doing what they're supposed to do, and they're not selling what they're supposed to sell. Maybe the problem is within, it is in-house. If it is not, then you can beat your chest and say, okay, after all findings, we know that this person is lying. But for now, Nigerians know that if it is higher in NNPCL outlets, then it is higher. Even if it's by 10 naira, it is still higher. If it is not lasting long, maybe for one reason or the other, the type of generator that was used, maybe one was older than the other, one was newer, we don't know. Maybe you switch them and do your findings. But do your findings first, be sure that you're right, and then you can carry any action that you want to carry. But as long as that is not being done, then you're still suspect. That's what I think. Okay, the final top trending issue is that the Central Bank of Nigeria has directed the immediate resignation of directors in banks with non-performing insider loans. These loans are given to bank executives, directors, and other related parties. The directive aims to enforce stricter corporate governance with Nigerian banks. In a circular signed by Adetona Adedeji, the acting director of banking supervision, the CBN emphasized that affected banks must begin recovering the loans, including the collateral tied to the shareholdings of the directors. The new policy aligns with the Banking and Other Financial Institutions Act, BOFIA, for handling such loans. The CBN has given banks a 180-day window to bring insider loans within prescribed limits, with individual director-related loans not exceeding 5% of the bank's capital and total insider loans capped at 10%. These steps are intended to improve compliance and governance in the banking sector. Well, a lot of us are tired of talking about the banks and what problems we face from there. So if the CBN has seen that this is a good step to take and they have given this warning, let's wait for the compliance of this. But what concerns Nigerians is that the banks should work. The banks should not be people who or institutions that take our money. Even the people who put card, that's what we say here in Nigeria, you put card. That means you do a contribution, a daily contribution, and your name is marked on the card. Maybe it is 10,000 daily, especially among the market women and men. You mark your card, you mark your name, 10,000 every day, they're marking it. You take like, if it's 1,000 naira, maybe you pay like 50 naira for every 1,000 naira that you're giving. At least you know that one. But in the banks, you go to the bank to keep your money safe. There is a savings account, there's a current account, there are so many other kinds of accounts. And you're putting your money in the savings account. And you find out that if you put 10,000 naira for 5 years, you're going to maybe have 5,000 naira instead of having something more than that. And I don't know why this keeps happening. There is an ATM charge, there is a VAT charge, there is a electronic banking charge, there is this and that. The same things that you're using in Nigeria, that's what is used in America, for instance, or the UK, for instance, but they don't get charged. The customers don't get charged for every little thing. And when you talk, some people will tell you that it's a normal practice. These people have to pay their dues. These people, we don't care. You're running a business, you're using our money, and you're doing whatever you're doing, and then we still get to pay the charges for everything that you're doing in your business. I don't know how Nigerians will be encouraged to continue to bank in those places. But right now, we're not talking about those ones. We're talking about the fact that there's a directive from the CBN that the non-performing loans, directors in those kind of places should resign and all that. So that is left for the banking sector. We hope that it will correct some of the things that we are crying about in the banking sector. We hope that the banks will be stronger so that they will serve us better in that. There's not much to talk about that. Just comply and let's hope that everything will move fine and everything will be better in the banking sector and the people will be happier. Let's take a short break, and when we return, we'll go to the papers and see what the headlines are. Stay with us.